Welcome to FSU Weather. I'm student meteorologist Jennifer Collins, and we're starting off this semester with 75 degrees right now in Tallahassee. We have scattered thunderstorms as a result of Tropical Storm Gordon sitting off into the Gulf of Mexico just to the south of the Florida Panhandle. We're looking at winds coming out of the east right now at 6 miles per hour, which is allowing the storms to develop. We even see some rain bands heading across the Tallahassee region. These showers and thunderstorms are dropping a lot of rainfall as well as frequent lightning in the area, but the majority of the rainfall associated with Tropical Storm Gordon is towards the west of us, mainly in the Florida Panhandle. Areas like Pensacola and the Panama City are just getting pummeled right now. We're looking at the bigger picture. Gordon's sitting off just to the west of Tallahassee, so it is dropping a lot of rain for most areas of Alabama as well as the western Panhandle. This storm will make landfall just shortly after the show ends tonight, so we'll keep you updated throughout that, heading throughout tonight's show. Tropical advisories, we have hurricane warning associated with Gordon for areas like Mobile, even on into Mississippi. We even have tropical storm warnings in effect for areas like the western Panhandle, places like Pensacola, as well as areas like Louisiana and New Orleans. Headlines for tonight's show: Gordon makes landfall tonight just shortly after the show. We also have rain chances heading Wednesday and Thursday, and we also are keeping an eye on the tropics for you, storms like Florence as well as Gordon. But for right now, this is FSU Weather.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the beginning of the fall shows here at FSU Weather. I'm student meteorologist Michael Anand.
And I'm meteorologist Jay Carstens. It's, I gotta say, really nice to be back in this room specifically. I haven't been on the desk here in about 4 months. Unfortunately, today's show not exactly going to be all fun and games because besides the tropical action that we're going to be getting to just in a little bit, we got plenty of other things happening across the country.
Yeah, tropics just ramped up recently. A very quiet August now. As clockwork, September much more busier than it should. It actually should be busy in September, and that's exactly what we have today.
Yeah, a couple of other weather pictures that we're going to be talking about a little bit later on in the show. Continued heat with this ridge in the northeastern United States, as well as a threat for some flooding and severe weather that's ongoing currently in the upper Midwest.
Yeah, we've been having a lot of flooding in the Midwest, especially in Wisconsin and Iowa. Lots of rain over there. They got a foot of rain just in the last month, and we're not expecting any easing in those flooding concerns anytime soon.
Yeah, and as we just passed our 2-year anniversary of Hurricane Hermine's landfall here, the tropics will still be our main picture for tonight's show, and we're going to get into that right now. We got 4 minutes here, tracking Tropical Storm Gordon on its approach into the central Gulf Coast right now, almost at hurricane intensity. We're going to be outlining that right about now. Maximum sustained winds at 70 miles per hour as of the 5 p.m. Eastern Time advisory. You see all of this pretty strong convection on the north and east sides of the storm, although it's not wrapping all the way around necessarily. Doesn't have that textbook hurricane structure quite yet, although it's trying to get there before its landfall in the central Gulf Coast. Here's the forecast advisory cone here, making landfall tonight somewhere in the Mississippi to Alabama coastline. Hurricane warnings are in effect for that entire area all the way off from, say, the Florida-Alabama border off to the Mississippi and Louisiana border. This will be rapidly weakening once it goes over land, although the rainfall threat is still going to be pretty significant with this as it moves off to the northwest and eventually recurves with those mid-latitude westerly winds. Here's the satellite and radar showing you almost trying to close off a bit of an eye with that convection wrapping around, but not quite all the way there. Pretty heavy rainfall working into the western Florida Panhandle, as well as into the Mobile metro area now, so some of those higher populated areas starting to get in on some pretty heavy rainfall. We've gotten some even as far, as close to our area as, say, Apalachicola, with some outer rain bands trying to get their way over towards Tallahassee, although we've dodged most of that action. Here's the advisories. Hurricane warning again extends from just east of New Orleans along the Mississippi-Louisiana border all the way off past Mobile over towards the Florida-Alabama border. Tropical storm warnings extending all the way off towards the Fort Walton Beach and Destin areas, as well as parts of Louisiana. Here's the current wave heights, kicking up some pretty high surf, as well as some serious rip current concerns, so obviously not the best day for any kind of beach activities, nor will tomorrow be in these areas. Small craft conditions going to be lingering around for a little while as the storm continues its approach off to the northwest. Forecast landfall in just a few hours here, and then again that rapid weakening will occur, but tropical storm force winds still going to be covering a couple of different states here as this drifts off to the northwest over the next 24 hours or so. So that's all for Gordon, but we have a couple of other disturbances that we're watching out in the tropics. Hurricane Florence, a Category 1 storm, staying off in the Atlantic waters for now, not going to be posing any kind of threat to land anytime soon. Continuing to move off to the northwest over the next few days, and weakening slowly back towards tropical storm strength once it gets into some of those cooler water, high shear environments off to the north a little bit. So now we're going to move into the forecast track here for Hurricane Florence, 984 millibar current pressure, and actually move over to the next disturbance that we're trying to track, a tropical wave starting to work in off of Africa here, the tropical easterly jet that really tends to kick off a lot of these waves, strong easterly winds that funnel these basically into the eastern Atlantic Ocean. We saw Florence be an issue for the Cabo Verde Islands as it was forming a few days ago. So that's an 80% chance of development here in the next 5 days or so. We're going to keep an eye on that. No threat to land anytime soon, except for, of course, the rainfall threat that's going to be happening over towards those Cabo Verde Islands, again, over the next couple of days or so. So again, right now we have Florence active as a Category 1 hurricane. Gordon is a strong tropical storm. It's going to try to make one last round of intensification into a hurricane before its landfall tonight. And if this wave does develop off of the western coast of Africa, this storm would eventually be called Helene. Again, we'll continue to keep an eye on that, as well as track Gordon throughout the rest of the shows in regards to some of its rainfall impacts, both locally and for parts of the southeast and really up towards the central part of the country, as again it makes its recurve back up to the north and east. So that's all for the tropics for now. Going to hand it off to Michael for our first local look.
Yeah, let's zoom back into Tallahassee and take a look at our FSU weather center cam. You can see a lot of clouds across the sky. That's because we have some thunderstorms nearby. 75 degrees with scattered thunderstorms near the airport down towards the south side of town. A little bit breezy at with those east-southeast winds at 6 miles per hour. You can see we did have some scattered shower and thunderstorm activity move through a little bit more down to the southeast. These are basically the outer fringe bands of the overall circulation of Gordon. The core is right now making a trek off towards Mobile Bay and the Mississippi-Alabama border. They're going to get most of the rain and wind activity associated with Gordon. We've been just getting the outer fringes of Gordon for most part of the day. And most of the rain has stayed down towards Apalachicola and Panama City, just to name a few places. And you saw with all the cloud cover and rain across that region, not high temperatures at all, very much cooler than average for this time of year. 75 in Tallahassee and Quincy, 80s in our Georgia counties with 81 in Bainbridge, Thomasville, and Valdosta. Now, dew points, again, with Gordon nearby, bringing all that tropical moisture. That's why we have high dew points. But it's not untypical for the beginning of September. 74 in Tallahassee, 73 in Quincy, and 72 in Bainbridge. When you look at the winds and the direction, you can see that the winds are coming from the east. That is due to the overall circulation of Gordon. A little bit from the north out in Monticello and Valdosta, but not as breezy with 4 to 6 miles per hour. Down towards the coast, it's a little bit more breezy because you're closer to the center of circulation of Gordon with 15 miles per hour in Apalachicola. If you want to head down to the beach tomorrow on your Wednesday, a little bit better conditions tomorrow. Still some scattered afternoon showers and thunderstorms, but not as numerous as today. 89 degrees will be your air temperature with water temperatures of 82 degrees. For your day plans for tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, so start out your day with the temperature of 74 degrees, warming up rather gradually to close to 90 degrees. Scattered showers and thunderstorms could be expected, but not as numerous as they were today. For tonight's forecast, we will get any shower thunderstorm activity in our region to really dissipate with the daytime heating. 74 degrees here in Tallahassee with that east wind due to the circulation of Gordon. Now for your forecast for tomorrow, you can see overnight tonight, not much shower activity. That's because we lose the daytime heating. Most of the rain is going to stay off towards Alabama and Mississippi. Tomorrow we start off with mostly sunny skies. You can see in Tallahassee, Quincy, and Monticello. And as we go in the afternoon, the daytime heating allows those showers and thunderstorms to blow up some clouds, eventually into shower activity. You can see right between Tallahassee and Monticello. For a 7-day forecast, once Gordon starts to move away, we basically return back to our typical summertime pattern with the Gulf and Atlantic sea breeze. Temperatures right around average, around 90 degrees. Now let's send it off back to the desk with Jake and Sloan.
Thank you, Michael. It's going to be nice to see some slightly lower rain chances in our area over the next couple of days. But, of course, as we've been talking about for all of the show here, we're right in the peak of hurricane season, and it is also the National Preparedness Month in the United States.
So we do have a few sources for you to check out. We have ready.gov/September since it is National Preparedness Month, but also for our Florida locals, you could check out floridadisaster.org, which is the Florida Department of Emergency Management, and they have a lot of graphics there and tools for you, to get accustomed to this upcoming hurricane season.
Yeah, and this National Preparedness Month is split up into 4 different weeks, and between September 1st and September 8th this week is the Make and Practice Your Plan week. So some of the things that you're really trying to check out here are ways that you can get emergency alerts. For example, signing up for the wireless emergency alert system where you'll get notifications from your local National Weather Service office if, say, a severe thunderstorm warning or something is active in your area.
Totally. FSU does set out alerts sometimes, especially during hurricane season. I remember my freshman year, we had Hurricane Hermine, and my mom sent me one of those hand crank radios so I could charge my phone, but I actually ended up camping out the Civic Center, which Florida State students, the Civic Center and FSU is great resources if we ever do lose power this upcoming season.
Yeah, and you were saying on the subject of radio, you can also get a NOAA weather radio for emergency alerts. Doesn't even have to be weather related. They send some out for other environmental issues that may be posed. And some other things you can do, of course, build your kit, your hurricane preparedness kit, to have non-perishable food, water, batteries, flashlights, first aid kits, anything that's going to get you and your family through about a week potentially without power, because of course all it takes is one.
And make sure, if you do get those warnings that there's a hurricane or tropical storm coming to our area, you really stock up on water, because I went to Walmart the other day and they were completely sold out, and it's just a tropical storm that's really not affecting us directly. So make sure you're prepared before everybody else is, just so you're safe.
Yeah, and one of the unsung threats with these tropical systems, of course, is the water threat, which is actually the most dangerous threat that there can be, especially in the coastal areas. So something to really check out, and again, go to ready.gov/September for all this information, is to know your evacuation zones and build a plan for if you do have to evacuate, where to go and some of the supplies you should get. Always, of course, have a full tank of gas on you, for example.
And make sure if you do find yourself at the beach, remember to swim out and around Rip Curl and not directly back to shore. And always to swim inside of a lifeguard. And if the beaches are closed because of red flags, make sure you don't go in the water. We're going to send it back off to Jennifer out in the studio.
Thank you, guys. Those are some great tips ahead of hurricane season, during hurricane season, because it's always nice to have a hurricane preparedness plan. It keeps you updated, and it's always nice to have. Temperature-wise, though, looking at the national picture, we're looking at some hot temperatures for areas like Detroit and Chicago. They're staying around 90 degrees in that location. We have a high-pressure system in this area, which is allowing these temperatures to heat up. We have a cold front in the Midwest, which is keeping temperatures down for some areas. 66 in Billings, Montana. 81 degrees, however, in Denver, so it is quite warm there. Dew points are high in the east because of all of the tropical moisture that we're seeing with Gordon. We're looking at 70s for areas along the Gulf Coast. Heading on up towards the areas that are seeing a lot of rainfall right now, Minneapolis in the 60s, as well as Kansas City in the 70s. So we have some higher dew points, which is allowing for a lot of moisture and a lot of rainfall in these areas. A bit drier behind that cold front, however. We're looking at 30s in Salt Lake City as well as Billings, Montana. In fact, satellite and radar is showing just a lot of rain activity across the United States. We even have Gordon out here next to the Florida Panhandle, keeping a lot of moisture in these areas, as well as a high pressure system off towards the eastern side of the United States. A stationary front out towards the southwest is allowing rain activity to happen across the Four Corners region. This is actually a good thing because they do have a drought in these areas, so this is helping to alleviate all of that. However, more towards the Midwest is where they're seeing way too much rainfall in some areas. Places like Minnesota, as well as heading down into Iowa, they're seeing a lot of rainfall, and a lot of the soil in these areas are already so saturated because they've had so much rainfall throughout the past few weeks. This rainfall is just increasing the flash flooding risk associated with these areas. So hopefully this cold front will start to make its way off towards the east, bringing in a little bit more of the clearer skies as well as some drier conditions. We also have a tornado watch for some areas of Wisconsin, even heading down for into Minnesota as well as Iowa. So we have a tornado watch as well as a severe thunderstorm warning for some of those areas. Down into the southeast and near the Gulf Coast states, Gordon is still keeping a threat for most areas of South Alabama as well as Mississippi. We even have some flash flood watches where Gordon is expected to make its way onto land into the Mississippi River Valley. We have a hurricane warning for areas of southern Alabama as well as southern Mississippi, places like Mobile and these areas. We also have a tropical storm warning for places like Pensacola into the western panhandle of Florida, as well as southern Louisiana. Areas like New Orleans has a tropical storm warning in effect right now. We also have flash flood watches in effect for where Gordon is expected to head off into the Mississippi River Valley, and even some flash flood warnings for the northern parts of the Midwest. Gordon is expected to make its way onto landfall shortly tonight and heading on into the Mississippi River Valley. Storm outlook for tomorrow: thunderstorms across most of the United States. We even have some marginal risk near the Great Lakes area. Tonight's forecast, pretty cool for most areas like Billings, Montana. 60-something degrees in Albuquerque. Tomorrow's forecast, it's going to be a warm one from areas of the Northwest, 90 degrees for Detroit, but I'm going to pass things off to Jake for a look at our local.
All right, thanks a lot, Jennifer. Watching some rainfall in the Tallahassee area, as well as off towards Panama City, where the impacts of Tropical Storm Gordon are a little bit more pronounced. Here's the time lapse for the last 6 hours or so. Consistent cloud cover, consistent fairly light rain in these areas. Some of the heavy stuff is more off to the west and the south of Panama City, although they've gotten some pretty consistent rainfall throughout the entirety of the day. The cloud covers here, as you can see from this live webcam from the FSU weather stem outside Doak Campbell Stadium. 75 degrees currently, some scattered thunderstorms in the area. Bit of a light rain still falling in our area, although that rain has subsided a bit in the last hour or so. It was absolutely pouring an hour ago around Tallahassee. Right now, 75 degrees here, 76 in Perry, and not quite as much rainfall in parts of southwestern Georgia, where those temperatures are back up towards those lower 80s. Still a much cooler than average day, which is a silver lining, of course, to all the rainfall we've been experiencing in the area. But there still is plenty of mugginess around here as well. A 73-degree dew point in Quincy, 74 in Tallahassee, 79 closer to the center of Tropical Storm Gordon off in Apalachicola. So that will not be changing anytime soon. Combine the two, you get the heat index, but thankfully, since those temperatures are a little bit lower with all that cloud cover and rain in the area, not quite feeling all that bad, although it still is feeling like the upper 80s in some parts of the Florida Panhandle. Moving into the wind speed and direction, you saw the counterclockwise rotation associated with Gordon off to the side over the Gulf of Mexico. We're starting to get that southeasterly and easterly flow associated with that, largely around 5 to 10 miles per hour, although in some of these thunderstorms, values have been kicking up as high as 35 gusts in the last couple of hours or so. And you see that right here. The storms thankfully have weakened just a little bit, kind of stabilized the environment behind them, so basically taking away any risk of these training cells that could have contributed to any sort of flash flooding concerns. Still a little bit wet out there for the rest of the night, though, and hopefully things will be calming down just a little bit for us in the next few hours. Should be improving into the overnight hours tonight. 74 degrees is going to be your nighttime low. A little bit cooler off to the northeast, where some drier air will filter in a bit sooner over towards Valdosta at 71. Tomorrow, the sun returns, getting back up towards that 90-degree point in many areas. Only 85 off towards Apalachicola, though, so looking a little bit better there. Set that forecast into motion, and again, you see the chance of showers and a thunderstorm overnight tonight, although it's going to be dwindling down pretty rapidly. Coastal showers and clouds lingering off, especially to our west tomorrow morning, and again, a slightly lesser chance of rain, but still the threat of a storm or two is going to be prevalent in the afternoon hours as some slightly drier mid-level air works into our region. The 3-day rainfall forecast, plenty of the worst rain going to be off to our west. Still could be looking at some more, up to about an inch around Tallahassee. And for the 7-day forecast, again, a couple of slightly drier days ahead before we really get back into that typical September pattern of 90-degree temperatures with some scattered thunderstorms working their way in the afternoon hours. Now back to the desk with Jennifer and Michael.
Thanks, Jake. And as we are in hurricane season, the Atlantic hurricane season actually has gone off to somewhat of an early start this year, but it's been quite slow throughout the progression of the season.
Yeah, we had Alberto earlier in the season, a lot of subtropical storms actually. And then we got a really quiet August, but then again, as clockwork, when you get into September, that's when it really ramps up in terms of hurricane season.
Yes, we're forecasted this season to actually have fewer storms than most seasons, fewer than average, and a lot fewer than what we saw last year. Yeah. While the forecast does predict the number of storms, it doesn't predict where individual storms will head into. So we do have a chance of having storms hit the United States.
Yeah, a lot of the reasons why we're having less storms this year, one, the main development region, which is the Central Atlantic, the waters have been cooler than average, and we've also had a lot of Saharan desert air coming off Africa. That's not favorable for hurricanes to really develop at all.
No, dust, high shear, and also cold waters. Those are not good indicators for storms to develop in those areas. But the peak of hurricane season is August 20th, heading into September 10th, so we are currently in it. We do have 2 storms right now.
Yeah.
During the hurricane season.
And then another wave coming off Africa. But you have to remember, just because we're not getting many storms, it only takes one to really cause a lot of damage and a lot of problems. Yeah, a lot of problems. For example, 1992, we didn't have a very active hurricane season, but we had Hurricane Andrew hit South Florida, a very strong Category 5 hurricane. And it took a while for them to rebuild from that. So it only takes one to really cause a lot of damage to any of the U.S. or to the Caribbean.
And even a tropical storm can cause a lot of damage. You know, a lot of rainfall during one period can lead to flash flooding in most areas, as well as a storm hitting in the right area. You could have some storm surge. But we're actually going to take things back over to the wall with you. Yeah,
we're going to take a look at the southeast right now. Well, actually, let's take a look at our time lapse of Rhode Island there. You can see we actually had a lot of clouds because of the overall circulation of Tropical Storm Gordon. You can see a lot of cloud cover, and the Gulf of Mexico a little bit choppy, with Gordon stirring up the Gulf of Mexico as well. Now you can see the radar, the thing that you always look at, the main circulation of Gordon. That's the one thing you can see clearly from this satellite and radar. Out towards Dallas and Houston, that's a lot of scattered shower and thunderstorm activity that's due to a front moving through their area right now, enhancing the shower and thunderstorm activity there. Again, the main focus is Tropical Storm Gordon, on track to make landfall later tonight in the Mobile, Mississippi area. You can see right along Biloxi and Gulfport. It is making a quick movement off to the north and the west, but again, it's going to get tangled with that frontal system and really increase the flooding concerns up towards the Midwest once again. Now, again, with Gordon making landfall imminently in the Mississippi Gulf Coast and the Alabama Gulf Coast, we do have a hurricane warning from the mouth of the Mississippi River all the way to the Florida-Alabama border. And then in blue, we have tropical storm warnings, meaning that tropical storm conditions are likely to occur. We also have storm surge watches and warnings. That is not listed, but again, storm surge is a main concern with the system as well. In addition, we do have the rainfall threat. It is a little bit lower because of the quick movement of Gordon, but nevertheless, a lot of rain is expected with the system, so a flash flood watch until tomorrow evening in southern Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, and southern Alabama. Now, if we take a look at the current temperature across the southeast, pretty nice conditions overall on the eastern side of the southeast, a little bit warmer in the central part with 90s and 92 in Shreveport and 90 in Little Rock. But again, cooler down towards the Gulf Coast because of the Tropical Storm Gordon making landfall. Now, dew points, pretty normal for this time of year. We don't really get any fronts to make their way down to the southeast until later September, so these dew points are not really going to change in the next few weeks. The winds, however, pretty breezy now in the Mississippi and Alabama Gulf Coast. That's due to Tropical Storm Gordon once again, and that shows you you can see how the circulation starts to move its way through Mississippi and Alabama. We fast forward to tomorrow, cooler, where Tropical Storm Gordon is going to impact them with 70s and low 80s. Now let's send it off to Sloan with the final look at the local forecast.
Thank you, Michael. We're going to take it now back to Tallahassee, and we're going to see that we do have those cloudy conditions going on. There was a lot of rain when I was driving to the studio. Apologize to Brittany for that. I was a bit late. But if you look at our current temperatures, you can see that we are in the 70s for Tallahassee, Quincy, and Perry. Apalachicola, a bit warmer at 80, and then up in Georgia, warmer where they haven't really received that rain yet. And then going into current conditions again, 75 in Tallahassee, scattered thunderstorms throughout our area. Lighter winds, what we've seen a few hours ago at 6 miles per hour from the east-southeast. Your dew point, which is the temperature at which dew forms, you can see that sticking around the mid-70s for most of the Tallahassee Big Grand region, but then again in Apalachicola it's 79 just due since we have a lot of rain in that area, a lot of moisture causing that dew point to increase a bit. Wind speeds, again, we can see this counterclockwise rotation from Tropical Storm Gordon. Heavier winds in Apalachicola sort of decreasing the higher we get, but with Perry being 4 miles per hour, the least amount of winds there, and then Tallahassee 7 and St. Mark's 10. Satellite and radar, again, you can see we do have these storms going along the I-10 corridor through Tallahassee, so expect a few more showers throughout the next hour or so. But then if we go over to East Point and Panama City, you can see that we have those heavier showers where the tropical storm is reaching them. If you are at the ocean right now or at the beach, you will feel that it's 89 degrees outside, but we do have winds from 10 to 15 knots, so a bit heavier than what we're seeing here in Tallahassee. A light chop with waves about 3 feet, but again, if you are out at sea, make sure if there is lighting, you're out of the water and not to swim back to shore, but up and around a rip current. Forecast going into tonight and tomorrow morning, you'll see we are going to clear up. Cloud cover is going to decrease, so a bit cloudier conditions tomorrow, hopefully not as much rain. Your 3-day rainfall, you see where Tropical Storm Gordon is impacting the most. We have 4 to 5 inches in the Alabama, Mississippi, Western Panhandle region, decreasing as we go east, but then over in central and northeast Florida, 1 inch of rain over the next 3 days. Tonight's forecast, you'll see that we're going to be 74 degrees and mostly cloudy, lighter winds at 5 miles per hour. And then tomorrow, a bit typical what it was today, 89 degrees, cloudy, hopefully not as much rain, but make sure you don't leave your apartment without an umbrella, stay dry. And then going into the next 7 days, you're going to see that we're going to have a 30% chance of rain Wednesday and Thursday, picking up a bit on Friday at 50%, and then decreasing to about the 40s for the next week. 90 degrees is our high for most of the week with the lows in the mid-70s. Jennifer, how do you feel about this rainfall that we're having right now?
Well, I've noticed throughout the past few weeks that we've seen a lot of rain, especially in like the afternoon hours, like around like 3 o'clock is exactly when the rain will begin, and it's just like clockwork
Right
almost.
when we get out of class too, when we're running out of the Love Building.
Exactly, you're trying to run back to your car and you just end up getting soaked. So
yeah,
no need for a shower after that, I guess.
You know, yeah, Friday's going to be the biggest day with the rain, so make sure you have an umbrella that day of the week.
Yep, and then even with a Tropical Storm Gordon in the Gulf of Mexico, it is providing a lot more rainfall for our area. So the storms that we did see earlier, even the severe one that went through, it wasn't severe, but the storm that went through dumped a lot of rain in our area. Looking at your 7-day forecast, we're keeping the rain in the picture for the next week.
Yep. Decreasing a bit going back into next week, but again, it is Tallahassee. It is still basically summertime for us. So need to stay dry, make sure you have everything. Again, you know, even though we're not directly affected by Tropical Storm Gordon, make sure that we're prepared, and we are going to receive those outer bands of rain a bit.
Yep, meteorological fall happened this past weekend, so the start of meteorological fall is we are in fall, but we still have the summertime pattern with the rain in the afternoon. But you can also follow us on Twitter. We post forecast on there every single day, twitter.com/FSU weather.
And make sure you check us out on Facebook and like us. We do post most of our social media updates on there.
And you can also watch us live on YouTube, youtube.com/FSU weather live. And you can also follow us on Instagram @FSU weather. You can watch our show on YouTube, and we also have archive shows on there. So if you ever want to see what we've done in the past year or so, you can also watch us there.
We're also asking for a lot of viewer input so we can get a lot of pictures in. You know, especially with a lot of this rainfall and storms coming through our area, make sure you tweet at us, comment on our Facebook post, DM us, you know, whatever it takes for us to get a lot of your views in. And also, if you have any questions, be sure to share them with us, and we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible.
Exactly. And so, yeah, send us your pictures. But here from FSU Weather, I'm student meteorologist Jennifer Collins.
And I'm student meteorologist Sloan Haynes. Have a great night.